Welcome back to another Car Meet Garage. My name is Don. This is my buddy Cody.
Hey.
And we are here in his garage full of
everything
from Camaros and Corvettes, and there's a jet ski back here and a Firebird right here, and he's got his Vipers over there. And so we're going to get going with him because he does have an extremely interesting collection. But we'll start off just, how'd you get started?
So basically, I kind of grew up with cars all my life, really. My dad had Chevelles, Fbodies, tons of different old school muscle cars. He had a Corvette growing up, a C4, and I rode in a little bit, but he kind of phased out of it. But I had two older brothers. One of them's more into like the import scene. He's got like a 3000 GT Dodge Stealth. It's actually Dodge Stealth, but he did the body kit on it. So I kind of had some interest in that. My other brother had like Chargers, Cudas, all that. And just growing up with it, that's pretty much all I've seen. And then I actually started bowling, which is a side thing, but I ended up bowling with a kid who actually bought my dad's, his father bought my dad's Chevelle. So I got to actually see a bunch of my dad's old cars from different people just through that. So that's kind of how I got started. And then I think really my first cool car was probably my Trans Am, and I still have that one. And that one's
the silver one.
Yep, that one's over there. From there, I don't know, I kept buying random here and there cars. I've had a couple Eclipses, I've had third gens, I've had a second gen, I've a couple Corvettes, a Firebird, a Camaro. I just recently bought a Viper.
The person who might rival my my fourth gen ownership.
I think you beat me on fourth gens. I just have a collection of just everything at this point. But yeah, I kind of, and then obviously growing up, we had like Need for Speed and stuff. So I kind of, that reinforced my ideology of cars are just Hot Wheels, and now I'm older and I can afford them and like them. So that's pretty much how I got here with this.
Well, like we say, it's whether you're getting a cocaine addiction or a car hobby, it's going to cost you a lot of money, but I think the car hobby is a little more safe.
It can be. Yeah. It can be.
We're not encouraging drug use here.
No.
Right. Officially.
On the record.
So since we're in the garage, and we'll just kind of talk about what's around us right now, because we actually talked off camera about that. It's not just what's here, because like you do have the Viper and you do have the Trans Am over next door. Yes. And we can start from what we can see here. We got the fourth gen, which I know your old lady drives that primarily, right?
Yep. So I bought that, I don't even know now. It's probably 6-ish years ago. So I bought that from a guy out in Vassar, and it hit a deer, and there was some here and there things with it, but it's a good driver. We haven't really had any problems. I've done some basic maintenance with it. There's nothing crazy going on with it, but I've uploaded so much random parts. Now that I have an exhaust over here, I got cams and nitrous kits in there. So realistically, it's not off the table that this could become somewhat fast, but that's a project that I don't know if I even want to get into yet. So, but yeah, she pretty much drives this all summer. She really doesn't have any problems, and it's fast enough for her to like have fun because she has a Jeep.
That's all that matters, right?
So like to her, it's fast. So like, I don't know, it's a decent car. There's nothing crazy with it, but it's fairly all right.
And then we got Big Bird, legendary, that's traded hands more times than...
Yes, so this car, I actually started going up to the St. Ignace, like big car show, and this was a joke of a car. Like they didn't know if it was gonna run right. It got pieced together like horribly. And basically everything that they were running up north with it wouldn't lose for some odd reason. Like cars that should have smoked it were losing. So I ended up becoming friends with a bunch of the previous owners, but the original owner that I knew out of that group was Randy. Randy! And he owned it, raced the heck out of it, literally sold it to a guy up there. Guy ended up having some problems with it because it is pieced together pretty horrible, but it runs somehow. So Jordan kept asking me, as it was this long-standing joke that this car's name is Big Bird, and this whole just trashy Corvette that it's like anti-boomer Corvette. I've never washed it. I've owned it for like 3-4 years. I don't think Jordan washed it. I don't even think he drove it much because he had it in the garage and I know he had problems with it. And pretty much I think it just stayed in his. So I don't think it's been washed in like probably 4 or 5 years. And everything is, it's funny. It's just a troll vet. Like
any traditional Corvette owner watching right now is like, holy crap. Because I know that right now there's probably pictures flashing on the screen of this thing and just how disgustingly dirty it is. And I have a Corvette also, and I think it's hilarious. It's awesome. It's Big Bird. Even I've heard about Big Bird.
Yeah. It's, so I ended up with it. I've slowly dialed some things here and there. Like when I got it, the seat was all the way back and they broke the bracket and they broke the mount and the motor. So I couldn't even reach the pedal. I was actually using pillows to prop me up. But then I was having a hard time with it because I was like either spinning out of it or dropping the clutch too hard. And I finally got the seat all dialed in. There was some fan issues. We got that kind of fixed. I ended up taking it to a buddy's house after St. Ignace this year because I blew out a bunch of oil passages and it was pretty much just pissing oil everywhere. I thought it blew it up at first because it showed all the signs of like not being correct. We fixed all that, found out my blow-off valve was junk, replaced that, put a catch can on it. I got a drag pack for it. I took those out. I didn't want them sitting in here over winter. This garage is not heated, so you know, didn't want them to get hard. And then I actually just bought front runners for it, so kind of excited to see what happens next year now that it's kind of getting dialed in. I might go E85 and I might pulley it down, but I got a couple other projects too that I want to get done, so it's kind of money and time really on that. So, but for right now, it runs. It makes probably-ish 600-ish to the wheels, so it's fun. It's a fun car.
This is a built LS with a Pro Charger, right?
It is an A&A kit with a V3 TI trim blower.
It's a Vortec.
Yes.
Vortec, okay.
And it is an LS. I've heard it's a 408. I've heard it's a 403. I've heard nobody really knows because, like I said, it's been passed down hand to hand to hand to hand to hand, and nobody's actually ever had like a whole build sheet. The only guy that I found one time was out in Midland, and I ran into him at like a parking lot, and he goes, "Hey, that looks like my old car," and he showed me pictures, and it was actually clean then. And he had like some backstory to it, but he's like, I don't know what happened after that, because he said he put it into a ditch, sold it to a guy. From there, he really didn't, know of anything on it, which calculates up to like so many people. And then Randy told me a story. He's like, yeah, some guy originally had it, put it in a ditch. So I know it's verified a little bit, but other than that, I don't. It's really hard to say what's actually in it because I've never torn it apart and nobody else has. They just threw it together and hoped it ran, and that's what it's done.
Right, so it's a Corvette with the backstory of like an old Fox body. Yeah,
pretty much. And I think the funniest part about it is on a meth kit, but the meth kit is just pretty much like literally the most ghetto way you could do it. We use windshield washer fluid, heat treat, and injector cleaner. And it runs all right sometimes, but then every once in a while you do get like air in the line or a meth burp and it like stutter steps. But at this point it's normal for the car, so we just don't even deal with it. So whatever.
That's fair enough. And then we have the beautiful low mile Z06 behind us.
Yep. So I bought that, man, 4 years ago I've had that. I bought it from the original owner. It had 14,000 miles on it. Realistically, the only thing I've changed on it was I put the Grand Sport vinyl stripes on it tinted the windows and put some autocross tires on it. And I've autocrossed it a handful of times in pretty much like stock class. And that's, I don't know. I've tried to sell it here and there. I've never been really serious about it. But then like every time that I kind of get serious about it, I just love it. It's low miles. It drives really good. I've drove it to Florida a couple times. I took it last year to Sebring, the 12-hour Sebring race. And everyone's like, you literally drove the Vet all the way. I'm like, dude, I have zero issues with it. It's the most reliable car I have. So do I really want to tear it apart? Even my Trailblazer as a daily driver has something go wrong with it almost every year. My Vet, no, just take care of it.
What's what they say? The worst two things you can do to a car is either drive it or not drive it.
Right. And I think now it's got like 37,000 miles on it, which is, you know, a lot more than what it's seen. I mean, it's still low miles, but I've doubled what the owner put on it, and I've only owned it 3, 4, 5 years. So,
Rex, and every time that I see someone is looking for a nice Z06, I always tag you in it, and but no one ever wants to pay clean, low mile Z06 money.
No, they always send me like $18,000 offers, and I'm like, yeah, that will get you the $100,000 one, like, or a 100,000 mile one. And then I've had people lowball me and send me base model C5s. I'm like, that's a base model. Not that like the C5Z is really that much different from a base model, but there's some little bit here and there. I mean, it's got an LS6 versus the LS1. Arguably, they're almost the same, but I don't know. I'm at the point where like I might just keep it just because it's been so good of a car, and it's getting really, really, really hard to actually find nicer examples. Like a couple years ago, everyone I knew really didn't have Vets, and now everyone has Vets. Everyone's putting tons of miles on them, turning them into race cars, and mine's still just a stock car with pretty low miles on it, and it's taken care of. So
right. Well, the beauty of having a car like that too, and you can keep it like that, is because you do have Big Bird, you have the other Camaro, and then we'll get, and that'll roll us into the next car, which eeny, meeny, miny, Viper.
So the Viper I bought from a buddy from Tim. He lives out in Grand Rapids. His name's Tim.
Yep.
I was actually looking for a ZR1. And then the only two people I knew really with ZR1s were also from Grand Rapids. They take them up to Ignis. I go up to Ignis every year. And the one guy with a ZR1 just dominates up there, like all the time. It's just a fast car. It's cool. I've always loved the ZR1s. But the price gap from like pre-COVID, you could get into them 50, 60 grand. Now they're like 70, 80, 90 grand. And you're like, do I really want to pay that for, I mean, it's a Corvette. So they're fairly out there, but like, is it worth it really? So I was debating it heavy, really looking into it. I was talking to a guy down in Florida. Tim messaged me. He's like, hey, were you still looking at a ZR1 or a Viper? Because I mentioned a Viper to him a couple times. And I'm like, I would possibly consider a Viper depending on the price. And we talked some prices, negotiated something out. And I was like, guess I'm going to go look at a Viper. So I talked to my bank. Bank's like, why are you even asking us? You have no issues. So I'm like, all right, cool. Went and I bought it pretty much on site. Like, we talked a little bit about it. I already knew him, so I already knew the car was going to be pretty good. Right. I did ask him, I'm like, we'll make it home. Like, I won't have any issues. He's like, well, there's a few issues, but it's not like engine-wise. So I don't know if you can see it, but I have boxes of the interior up there. So the car really just doesn't have an interior, and it's caged. Other than that, it runs and drives.
Because it's like a former 7-second car, right? Or something like that I heard someone say before?
Yes, there's
something like that.
7s, 8s, somewhere in there. So originally it was a drag car. Tim didn't have it as a drag car. He was putting it back together. So it was a drag car. It was a twin turbo car. It blew up. Tim was in the process of rebuilding it. I think he was maybe going to keep it, but he also has another Viper. He's had McLarens. He's had some cool cars. And that's why I think I got it for what I did, because he just had it on the back burner. He was also building a Batmobile and some other crazy, insane, awesome cars. And then he's like, well, do you want it? And I'm like, Yeah. So I think he took some of the parts that he wanted off of it, put everything pretty much back to stock on it, and then that was it. I went Grand Rapids, here's some cash, drove it home, and it drove home beautifully. I never even drove a Viper before, and it was wild. Driving that thing on the highway, like everybody, you get past, they'd slow down and like stare at you.
And out come the phones.
Yeah.
Yep.
Honestly, there was like kids that you wouldn't even think of, like small kids, like 10 and lower, just, and you wouldn't expect that, because like that's a car that was cool back in when I was a kid, and I'm in my 30s. So like to see a 20-year difference of age with them having that same reaction that I did when I've seen those cars.
It gives you a little bit of hope for the future of the car community.
Right. And then you've seen the older generations of like people our age and, you know, even older, 50, 60, 70, that would also look at it and go, oh man, that's a Viper. Like, so it's just a really cool car to drive. And it's honestly, it's very comparable to driving one of the C5s, honestly. I mean, your legroom is a lot smaller, but they ride very similar. There is a little bit of a torque curve difference, because that makes a ton more torque, especially lower.
Well, V10 stuff.
Yes, yeah. V10 stuff. But comparatively, like if you're pretty moderate on driving them, you could easily go from one to the other and back and forth. I've realistically have no issues driving either one. Like I got into that thing after not driving it probably the last 2 months, because I was just driving the Viper, and then I got in this, I'm like, man, this is going to be really different. Backed it out, got in the thing, and I'm like, oh my God, these are very similar. So it's very comparable cars.
Same, but different, but still same.
Cars. And I guess for even with the decade though too, because the Viper's a 2003, that's an 01.
Yep.
So I mean, even like interior wise, you still have that weird plasticky,
that late 90s or 2000s feel to them.
Yeah. So they're very comparable. It's been pretty sweet car.
So what are the plans on that thing? Just gonna enjoy it, or gonna make it go faster?
Ideally, it would be sweet to make that thing really fast, but unfortunately, V10 money. So everything is absolutely insane priced on that. Like even the gas cap, we are looking just at random parts. The gas cap for one of those is like $1,000. Headlights are like $2,500.
That's wild.
So if I'm just looking at that type of stuff, I can just imagine what some of the motor work's gonna be and like parts. I'm also very not familiar with Viper market, like LS stuff. Everyone sells LS stuff.
Yep. Texas
Speed, BTR, you know, and you name it, you can go find it. I don't know the Viper market. I'm sure there is like some huge names out there. I'm Calvo Motorsport for sure, but I really don't know who deals with it. So it's kind of that.
It's a learning curve right now.
Right. So right now for me with the Viper is basically just putting the interior back into it. I want to make it look more like a driver car rather than a gutted race car, which it once was.
Right.
Once I get from there and I get some of the other projects dialed in, then maybe. Maybe. So that'd be, if I touch it, it'll be like 2 years from now, 2, 3, but we'll see. Things change all the time.
Right, that's talking to people about their 5-year plan. As car people, our 5-year plan is, what's your 5-year plan? Well, turbo, nitrous, bigger tires, stuff like that.
Yep.
Like, you know, you talk to a financial advisor, oh, I want to be invested in the stock market more in 5 years.
If these things ever become the stock market, then yes, I will be heavily invested.
And so that'll roll us right into your Trans Am.
Okay, so the Trans Am I bought like 10 years ago, and I was honestly going to keep that pretty much a stock car, and a couple random things happened. So as a dumb kid 10 years ago, I pulled it out during March when the snow kind of melted. There was still some ice on the road, and I don't know, like a snow plow thing must have hit one of the signs in the road, and it smacked a sign into the road. Me showing off, my girlfriend at the time, she was driving, she was slowing down, so I'm like, I'm just gonna pass her. Went to pass her, I clipped the sign that was in the road because I didn't see it, spun out, and I smacked the back half of it. They were going to total it. I ended up saying, I'll do all the work, just cut me the check of like damages for A, B, and C or whatever. So we ended up buying most of the parts off like scrap cars. I think I bought another scrap F-body car. We fixed it and looked pretty great. Then at that point, I'm like, well, now there's a claim on the thing. So I'm like, do I really want to go there? And then our other buddy, Brandon Carr, he already has a Trans Am.
Right.
So everything that he's been taking off.
Taking off of it. The orange car is... Yeah.
Yes. So everything the orange car was is now in that car, except the motor. The motor thing, that was my actually first motor I ever built. I built it with my buddy Sean. And that's forged rods, pistons, Texas Speed 228R cam. So right now it's a 4L60E. I do have Brandon's old TH400
with the brake in it, yeah.
So that's going in it this year. That would have been in it, but I've had that car, I swear, it's just unlucky. Every time I try to do something with it, something else sets me back. I think you probably remember when I bought the wheels for it.
Yeah.
They didn't fit right.
Fit, yeah. So you had them over at my house. We were test fitting my stuff to see.
Yep. They sent me the wrong spec on it, on those, so that was a nightmare. And then some other odds and ends, like I've always been waiting for parts or something always happens. Then when I finally got all the parts to do my motor, somebody sideswiped the entire car. So then I had to take everything from the driver's side, from the fender all the way back. So that was technically wreck number 2 on it, which I wasn't really a wreck, but then I'm like, all right, it's got 2 on it now, it's going full bore. So now I have all that stuff that's going in it. The TH400, I got a cage for it, which is I think in that room. What else have I bought for it? Everything really at this point. And then I'm gonna put a nitrous kit on it. I'm pretty much just going for gold and just going big shot. If it runs it, great. If it blows it up, I got, I think, a 5.3 and a 6.0 over there. I got a 5.3 over there. I got pistons and rods and stuff on the board over there. I got heads and everything. Ashley loves this. Half our house is like car parts right now because I just been ordering everything for it. So there's heads, cams, stuff inside the house. We just finally got all the wheels out of there too. She was really excited about that. So that's just going to be a full bore race car at this point. I'm not going to tub it. I'm going to stay on a pretty much just a, like 275. And if I blow it up with nitrous and I have to go to one of these blocks, I'm just going to go turbo kit. I already have a turbo set up for it. I'm not going to just rip it apart yet because everything's right now set up right for a nitrous car. So I'm going to actually go that route. And then if it lives somehow, then maybe that motor goes to that thing. Right. Or it goes to this one because this one's 3400 or 30 whatever. 3400
in this one, yeah.
So maybe all that goes into this and this becomes another race car. So I got projects kind of everywhere with the F-bodies. I've always liked them. And they're different. They're like, everyone's like, oh yeah, a vet. But then you get into an F-body and they're just different. You would know. You would know great.
They used to, I know when I first got into them, they were one of the most prevalent cars out of the Fortune F-bodies. Where now you don't see them anymore. You very rarely see a decent Fortune out rolling around, or even a decent C5 anymore, or a decent even a C6 anymore. You don't see a ton of C8s out, but you don't see C4, C5s, and C6s rolling around. It's wild.
I think the only thing really to say on the C6s is like, now recently we've seen in our friend group and then kind of on the extended groups.
There's more of them.
Yeah. Like Brandon ended up getting one. Kyle got one. Actually a bunch of my friends from west side of the state have them now. But again, you never used to see them. They just started getting them because prices started coming down.
Down on them, yeah.
And then Kenny, I think, has what, 2, 3 of them now?
I think, yeah. I don't want to quote. I think he's got 2. Okay. He's got the red one and a different one.
Red one and then like an orangey one. But yeah, like all these F-body guys now are getting into vets. So I'm like, well, I still like the F-body. So I'm just going to build my F-bodies. I already have my vet that's built. So we'll just kind of go down that road and see what happens.
Right. So what's your the future for the Trans Am if you had to give that a 5-year plan?
5-year plan on the Trans Am. Obviously things change, but within 5 years, I want it twin turboed. I want it to be really close to that 1,000 mark. And it'll probably be like your generic 5.3 build with just ungodly amounts of boost. And I'll probably have horrible problems with it, just like I normally do, but
right.
it'll be that car. It'll be pretty comparable to what you kind of see with like Kenny's Fbodies or
right.
like Brandon's so I want to stay generic with it because I'm still fairly new with a lot of stuff. I get a lot of help from a ton of people. I like cars. I can work on most of the stuff, but there's a lot of stuff where like, oh, you need to do this and this and this. And I'm like, I would have never thought about doing that.
There's a learning curve to everything. If you don't do it once and you don't have someone to show you, then sometimes it's hard to learn.
Yeah. And plus I'm not an engine builder too. So there's like little specs to that where I don't know it because I don't do it every day. So, I mean, I know what I've YouTubed or like Googled or been in forums on and all that stuff, or all the advice that I've gotten from people. So I might have issues with that thing because who knows? I mean, I did that engine build outside when it was like fall. So there could be leaf debris in there and that thing could blow up tomorrow. I don't know. I mean, it's ran. The only reason why I haven't really been driving it is because I keep buying more cars for some odd reason.
Right, and I was actually going to ask that because now that I know you were looking for a ZR1 because you and I have had that conversation in the past because I said that at some point I was going to look for a C7 and whatever. And you had that conversation about looking for a ZR1 or a Viper. And now that you had the Viper, is there anything else you want to buy? Because you are a guy who buys when something that he likes. And
so unfortunately, I have been seeing the ZR1 market come back down. I don't know if it's down enough where I want to go jump into another car right now. Plus it's winter. It's kind of a really off the wall time for me to even think about that.
Right, go buy one, have to sit there and stare at it all winter and can't touch
then just make payments like, here you go, I'm just paying on it to look at it. Knowing me, I'll buy another car. I'm going to do it. Like whether I say I'm not, it'll happen. I don't know what it'll be. It's just whatever pops up. I like kind of everything. And one car I've always wanted was a Plymouth Superbird. I doubt I can find one reasonably priced, but if I ever do, that would be the car that I would always want.
Yeah, you throw with someone to cut the rear wing off it, like they used to do back in the day because they hated the wing. So they used to cut the wing off them at the dealerships because they couldn't sell them. I don't know if people knew that or not. But finding one with the wing on it, you're spending huge money.
My cousin said that she knew of one a long time ago, and they used to let like the people who owned it had kids or something, and they used to jump up and down on the wing like a trampoline. And I didn't even know them, and
that's like soul crushing. I'm not even a Mopar guy, and that's like soul crushing.
Right. So I've never been a Mopar guy. I've always been around them, like my brother. I had Mopars. My cousin had her Cuda in here. It was the orange one that was over here at one point. There used to be a couple pictures. I drove that thing. That was a cool car. Like a lot of people in my family had Mopars. I never really was that guy. I have a Viper now.
You have better taste, so.
Kind of. And until you look at this.
Mopar guys, you guys get a little bit sensitive sometimes, but
yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. They're sweet. I love Chargers, Challengers. I'm not a big new tech Mopar guy, but like the Hellcats, I got to give it to them. The Hellcats are pretty badass. They just stick with the course. They're like, I'm just going to make this thing insanely fast for no reason at all. I wouldn't even be surprised if they start throwing Hellcats into like just minivans or.
I know it was a joke for a while that they're going to do that Chrysler's, or it's not Chrysler technically, it's just Stellantis now or whatever.
Yeah.
It's going to throw a big motor in a minivan. Didn't they do that actually?
I'm not.
Greg?
Folks, pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
I'm not sure.
I thought they did. I thought they did a minivan with a Hellcat motor.
something worth Googling.
Yeah, we're gonna have to Google that, and we have to add that to the video. Like, it'll be a big picture. But no, they do a lot of cool stuff, and I've driven Trackhawk before. That was cool.
Yep.
And they are super, and you know, and the Cletus McFarland just has the giveaway truck that they just got done doing that. That thing went like, what, 10.0 something, and it's got a ported blower and some basic stuff, and they were like 10.0s in an SUV.
You're moving. That's moving some soccer
weight.
kids.
Yep.
Yeah, like 10s are, I mean, we're in the day and age where like 10s are, everyone's like, 10s are slow now. I mean, 10s are still pretty damn fast.
10's still fast.
For those 10 seconds or less, I'm free.
Like, I get it. There's stuff that comes out now that are like 9s where you would just never would have seen that.
Or with the same people who say 10s aren't fast for the guys who run 14s and think they're fast.
Yeah, like me.
Right. That's all driver mod though, Cody. We all know that.
Yeah, that's because I'm short. Honestly, it's all my shortness. But yeah, I think just pretty much anything with that, with the whole Mopar scene. Like, never was a really big component of them, but
You got to respect fast is fast.
right. And then
So fast is fast. Fast is fast. You know, what do you? That's all you can do is respect it. But this is an absolutely beautiful collection, sir.
I mean,
Even Big Bird.
it's got its own beauty. It's got like just this huge laughable.
We'll call it
background.
wabi sabi. Is it wabi sabi? Is that what they say? Wabi sabi, where it's you got to find beauty in the thing that's not beautiful. Is that what that is?
I know what you're talking about, but I don't know if that's what it's. I
don't know.
I barely can speak
Greg
English.
just confirmed that that's what it is.
Okay.
He speaks all those weird languages like that, like Russian
yeah.
and Spanish and nerd.
I barely can speak English.
Right. Me either. I hear you, man.
That's what happens when you own a bunch of F-bodies.
Yeah, it drops a few IQ points. Every time you buy one, you drop a few IQ points. And that explains a lot, dude.
Even when you get rid of them, you don't go back up.
It doesn't get back up.
Somehow you just drop back down.
Maybe that's why I buy a Corvette, because it raises it a little bit. When you get that highbrow Corvette, it raises it up a little bit. Is that how that works? We'll call that Corvette, man.
I feel like I'd be smart then, but I'm not.
Only two.
I got to buy more. So now I do have to buy a ZR1. So now, okay, next year I guess I'm buying a ZR1. But yeah, so this is pretty much, I mean, in here, if you guys want to like ask anything else about any other ones, whatever.
Yeah, dude, this is, I think we've covered pretty much everything you have in your garage. I know that if you acquire something else, we're definitely coming back.
I probably will. I don't know. It's like anything. I didn't even expect to buy a Viper. It just happened. I didn't really expect to buy this. It just happened. I didn't even expect to buy the Z06. I was actually looking for a ZR1, and Ashley didn't know the difference. And she goes, hey, I found a Corvette, and she told me a location. I went there, and I'm like, first of all, this is a C5, and it's a Z06, but now I'm interested.
Right.
So I ended up buying it.
Right, 13,000 miles again.
Right.
And the price is right.
Right. So I'm like, So yeah, and a deal comes up. I'm even on Facebook Marketplace. There's days where I'm looking at Ferraris at like $400 and some $1,000. I'm like,
yeah, I can afford that. Maybe,
I could almost do this, maybe.
Maybe sell a kidney or both, or you got a spare.
Just sell Big Bird and maybe that thing, and
I'd sell Big Bird. That's
they'd probably just give it back. To be honest, it's such a weird.
It's like that bratty child that you joke around with. That yeah, they'll take the kid, but they'll bring it back.
It kind of really is that. I've actually been. I don't know if Randy was joking, but he did offer once, like a year or two ago. He's like, "Would you want to sell Big Bird?" And I'm like, "No, I don't. I just like it. It's just, it's pretty much fits my personality. I'm just a goofball, and then I like trolling all the dumb people. I shouldn't say that. They're not dumb. They just have not well educated, like, you know, the Woodward page and all that, and you have like some crazy things.
Right.
So it just kind of fits my personality that it's just this.
It's a troll car.
Yeah, and I just do it on the internet just because like I'm bored and I'm just gonna do it, whatever.
Right, because you see all the random stickers all over it, and you should add the, you know, the old the milk eggs, like the old like a 80s advertisement used to be like Gretty and Pepsi, where they did like the milk, eggs, bread, and the different logo fonts.
Yeah,
you should do that in the front fender. 100%.
You can print stickers.
I can print stickers.
All right. Yeah. Well, that's the next mod for this car is we're printing more stickers. Yeah.
Printing more. Perfect.
I literally don't even care. If you want to just sticker bomb it, go for it.
Yeah, then it becomes cool. Because that's the new thing, isn't it? The sticker bomb stuff.
I think it's cool as long as they're cool stickers, but I have like a motor. I don't even own a motorcycle, and I have
thumb chrome and there's a dot.
So yeah, I don't know. Just throw whatever on it. I have noodles on the back, like for import cars, and but yeah, I don't know. Just throw whatever on it. It's whatever.
We'll figure it out. And the Val Stuff caps are a nice little add-on.
Oh, I forgot those.
We'll leave those on because it goes on YouTube, so we don't want to mention that because then that flags it as a whole separate thing.
Yeah, I forgot those were even on there. To be honest, I found those. So those were on the car when Randy had it.
Randy?
Because I guess his buddy 3D printed them or whatever. Maybe he didn't 3D print them, whatever. But they did it to him, and then everyone lost them. Well, when I fixed the seat, they were all pushed up under the seat. So I found them and I slapped them back on.
Nice.
But yeah.
But yeah, dude, on that note, I want to thank you for letting us into your garage. So, all right, thanks for having us, sir.
Yeah.
Keep the shiny side up.